I switched my focus and my interest from science to real estate and to growing my own business.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and welcome to another episode of the Gentle Art of Crushing It. Today, I am, very pleased to have Benjamin Huang with us, and, Benjamin, please tell us just a little bit about yourself, your background, where and how you found success as you define it, and please include something interesting about you that most people wouldn't know about you.
Sure. So my background really is scientist and engineer. I have been spending my first 2.5 decade of my life growing myself into a professional, scientist and engineer. I was involved in a lot of interesting topic, including, last pandemic, Ebola virus. Also, I've been working with a lot of very talented, scientists throughout the world. So that has been a great chapter to my life. Since probably about a decade ago, I started to learn that really, if you're doing something valuable and the world acknowledge it, then you would get basically the equivalent award, right? Whether it's monetary or whether it's other form, but really the past decades I've been jumping into real estate, and since I become a real estate investor, I have been to a lot of up and down. We have some point acquired smaller multifamily up to about 30 units. And then realize it's a job, and then I still, slowly liquidate all that and jumping into much larger deals of apartment syndication. So I'm now basically are doing apartment syndication. We focus on 80 plus units, apartments, complexes. Our market mainly in Dallas, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida. And we're always looking for investor to join us.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Benjamin. And you and I have got to know each other a little bit over the past year or so, and we were talking before the show started that you've actually made great strides, and so it's really exciting, seeing how it's been a little bit since we've caught up to hear the progress that you made. And I'm, like I told you before we started, I'm really proud of you. It's, a lot of people choose to kind of sit on the sidelines as opposed to get in and get engaged in their life and get in the game. And you're definitely in the game. You're definitely engaged. And, what's more, you are actually putting in a very strong effort. And so, just want to say that and say, I applaud you for that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Now, Benjamin, please share with us one or more of your favorite successes that you were either, a part of, you contributed to, or solely created on your own.
Yeah, so I see myself having the biggest success when I make a biggest mistake, right? So I believe that all kind of achievements come from something that require you to overcome a certain hurdle or some sort of difficulty that you previously were not able to feel comfortable about, right? So one of my biggest challenge, specifically in real estate journey, was really my first rental, right? The very first time I was trying to buy a house from nothing, right? Back to that time, I was still a basically a W-2 worker. I was making pretty low wages, and at the same time I have a project to serve and whatnot. But I found myself one day read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I found myself not being able to stay away from it. That book was the very first book that since I was born I was reading it day in and day out, and I was not even sleeping, because I just can't get rid of the ideas of building up the cash flow out of my mind, right? So that was really the moment that I decided to say jump into real estate. Um, my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, she was very surprised that men like me who care about sleeping so much was staying up for reading a book, and I'm not the kind of person who you would know enjoy reading a lot, right? So really, that is when big changes are coming. And then after starting the books over and over and over and over again for like less than a month, I decided to take action. Right, I start talking to the bank. I start visiting the bank. I start, driving around looking for deals. I start talking to broker and whatnot. And eventually, I buy one property that is right by a university. And that house has become the biggest nightmare of my life, but that turns into the biggest success for my life. Initially, it was basically a four-bedroom condos, and we I was having this vision that I need to have it cash flow, and I see the possibility that hey, I can turn this four-bedroom into a seven-bedroom and then rent it out to a student. With that ideas, I was just walking the property. I was studying days and nights about the regulation, how to get the permit, and find people help me to remodel it. And wasted a bunch of money. Trying to get the right persons, to the job and whatnot. As a result, I was the person who were putting together a I think 14 or 15 pages report to the building department to acquire the permit. And when I get the permit, the person in the building department was telling me, "Hey, with a degree of the study and details that you put into a report, I don't believe I've ever heard someone get the permit within a week, and you were able to get it for 3 days." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I was just approaching it with the level of details when I was writing a scientific paper, right?
Okay.
I care about those details, and I put those in. I reference those in, and at the same times I visit the person who I know to be reviewing the permit and really are the one who can make the decision. And he was actually a contractor. I was basically just drive to his workplace and like ask, "Hey, if I were to make these changes, what is the proper way of doing it? If I were to make that changes, what's the proper way?" And he thought I was a potential client, and so he was openly telling me all that. And toward the end of the conversations, I was just offering him to to grab a coffee, and then I presented the report, and he was so surprised and just signed the paperwork. And the next day we closed the property. The very next day he started to do to do the job. So that was really, I want to say, the first victory of my real estate journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a hack. And I don't know how common that is that you have the contractor, who is reviewing like permits, building permits, right? So that was just super smart and going straight to the source. Obviously, I'm sure you treated him well with respect, and or he wouldn't have spent that much time with you. So I think soft skills, people skills is very important in any industry, right? But I also wanted to touch on Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki, he changes a lot of people's brains through that book. They can never be undone once you read that book. And so yeah, I definitely can understand the obsession. I try to revisit that book every year. And we're pretty new into this year, so I haven't done it yet. But yeah, so I love that. That's awesome. Now, what would you say is one of the most valuable lessons that you learned from this experience?
I think don't avoid making mistake is what I have learned most, and that become one of my principle. To deal with any sort of challenges happen in my life. Really, I think if you have passion to a certain thing, and really you are aware that is the passion that you truly love and that will stick to you for some time, then just go out there and do what you believe, what you love, and fall in love to every single bit of it, including the mistake, right? Because people are avoiding to make mistake that usually trigger people to avoid taking action. Mm-hmm. And making the mistake not only help us learn, but also help you see progress and get a sense of accomplishment, at the time you overcome it, right? And so basically, really if there's just one thing I can tell the younger version of myself or even my kid, is that find your passions and just go all in. Your risk is way lower when you're younger. So there's the best time was yesterday, but the second best time is right now.
I agree, 1,000%. When you're young and youthful, time's on your side, right? And so you can go, like, for example, I had friends that got incredibly good at playing guitar. And what they did was, when they were in high school and they came home, they'd do their homework and then they would play guitar for like 4 or 5 hours a night. And then these guys got to like crazy high levels of, skill there. And because you have very little responsibility at that point in time, it's the best time to, and even after, let's say you're in your 20s, even 30s, 40s, 50s, if you have a passion, start spending 60s, 70s, start spending time on your passion and don't allow the mistakes. I just really love what you said. It's very wise, because if your fear of making a mistake is so strong and you're just focusing on that fear of making a mistake, you won't actually, like you said, take action. And life's too short. You can't actually learn, without making mistakes. And even if you're trying to not make mistakes, you're going to make them, right? So embrace the mistake, I think is, you basically said that. So I love that. Yep. Another quick thing that I heard, quite a long time ago from Brian Tracy is fail forward fast. Make your mistakes quickly in rapid succession, learn from them. But yeah, life's too short. We got to enjoy it, right?
Exactly. And if I can add one thing to it is, trying to make mistake that you can learn from other people's, right? A lot of mistakes have been made, and you don't have to necessarily make the same mistake to learn. You can learn from other people's mistake.
Yes, and one of the best and I think most affordable ways to do that is by reading books, right? And learning from our parents, friends, and it's really important that we have friends and we're networking, because that's also a great way, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Now, Benjamin, would you mind telling us, some of one of the most incredibly difficult experiences that you've walked through and what you learned from them or it?
Yeah, so I have to say, switching my mindset from doing smaller multifamily to larger multifamily was a huge step to me. There was a point that I truly believe, as long as I have enough houses, I'll be able to financially free. Until I hit about 30 and until I figure out that was actually a job, right? And before I hit that mark, I was, a big believer of every bit of what I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? And it's not to say that Rich Dad Poor Dad concept is not right. It is completely magical, and it was great. However, that's based off of the assumptions that you need to put effort into your properties, and those properties, when they become a portfolio, then that become a business, right? And there is very little to no hands-off business out there that can still be profitable, and you get to still grow it, unless you can build a system, right? And when you learn that a system required to help you grow or scale, you quickly realize you can't do everything by yourself, and therefore getting into a larger scale was the way to go, right? So first step, making it work. Second step, scale. When you get up to a certain scales, you basically learn how to build a system. If the system worked, great. If the system doesn't work, then you will make some mistake and improve upon it. So I would say, switching my mindset from smaller multi to large multi was a big thing, because and the other thing is, smaller multi really is about solo show, right? You get to do it yourself. If you are smart enough, if you work hard enough, if you just follow people's step by step, and you can make it. But there will be a limit. There's a ceiling up there that will basically limit your growth.
There's
right?
only so much time in any day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. It's that's really really cool, and I also love that how you kind of went into the systems. If it's working, scale, right? If it's not, fix what's not working, right? And then scale.
Right. Yeah.
And then rinse and repeat, I guess, right? So, yeah. But very cool. Now, let me just go ahead and shift the conversation a little bit. You kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you were sent back in time to age 18, knowing what you know now, and how would you fast track your success, or streamline your life, or design it the way that you would like to?
I think if I were to get back to when I was younger, then I would allow myself to explore as many things as possible, right? I originally was born in Taiwan, and within the cultures and mindset that Asian country are having is that you either be a doctor, or you go to a good school, find a good job, get a good wage or salary position, and live your life out of it, right? But we focus too much on the only few that most people see to be successful, and ignore the possibility of the exponential growth if you allow yourself to work on something you truly love, right? I switched my focus and my interest from science to real estate, and to growing my own business when I was 30 years old, and that was too late to me. If I were to know, okay, I have this interest, I have the business mindset, and I truly enjoy business development and whatnot, then I may have been, approaching this directions earlier, or at minimum, I get to learn a lot more before I have to jump on it, right? But that is not to say that I don't like what I did for science and engineering, life. I still love it. It's just that is not something that I would be extremely excited to do when I, wake up every single morning. I think you're on mute. Doug, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah. So what I was saying is that's important. Enjoying what you do, because waking up and looking forward to your day. Because when times get tough, and things become very challenging, it's going to be anything that you can think of. Sort of like David Goggins talks about his cookie jar, and all of his thoughts that help motivate him. But if you're doing something that you're passionate about, it's much easier to continue moving forward, in the face of challenges. But also, I think you're going to experience flow a lot more often, where time seems to fly by and you're being very efficient, right?
Yeah, yeah, and also one thing we kind of touched on the earlier, the part of this interview was about making mistake, right? It's really easy to say that try to fall in love with every bit, and including mistake, right? But most of the time, when there's a setback or there's a mistake, right, it usually come with stress, usually come with pain, usually come with sadness or whatnot, right? And unless you are in a business or in the industry, in the activity that you love, you truly have passion with, it's very difficult to turn those those negative energy into something positive, right? I found myself to be easier or easily turning those negative energy into something positive when I was doing something that I'm passionate with, right? And making mistake even become something that I would feel excited about, right? I would be looking forward to the next mistake, because that is usually where I can live up and start level up, to the next step.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great outlook, and kind of just to also revisit the thought that a lot of times mistakes come with pain, growth, and discomfort. So also, with that being said, I've discovered a few ways to be able to handle the discomfort and the stress and pain during, quote unquote, stressful times. And I think that that's really, really important. So for me, what I'll start to do is go, okay, what if the sky falls? What's the worst case scenario? And, then can I live with that? Yeah, I can, because basically as long as I have my family, I'm fine, right? So then what I'll also do is start to look at how much time, how much abundance do I have? So if I'm feeling stressed, sometimes, my temptation is to work really hard on, just get into the grind and try to push forward. But what I think is very helpful sometimes is to experience abundance. Take the day off, take a couple hours off, go fishing, go do a sport, go play with your pets, hang out with your family, experience abundance, right? That's one, tool that I use to deal with stress. And so is there anything that, kind of comes up for you that you found is helpful for you during, tough times?
I love the way you say experience the abundance, right? Because most people, especially when people are just getting started, they see those time that they hang out with their family, do something enjoyable, to be the time wasted, right? Not doing business,
unfortunately,
not building up their next financial goal, whatnot, right? I mean, I truly believe that if you have a well planned time, then you should really enjoy every bit of it, right? No matter
Yes.
you're building up your business or that is a family time, you spend time with family or whatnot, right? So I love the way that you put it in a way of experience the abundance. I think people will resonate that very well.
It's so important, I believe, because for me anyways, what ends up happening is when I am sort of getting stressed, there's typically a financial loss or a financial constraint, which kind of automatically or yeah, I guess like by default, which is something I'm working on, it puts me into scarcity like mindset, right? And the more I kind of stay there, what do we have to do to be safe? What do we have to do to be secure? The more I start to, constrict, and then a downward spiral begins, right? As opposed to looking up, looking towards my goals and my dreams, and looking towards how, remembering we only have one life to live, and how do I want to look back from like age 85 on my life? Where did I spend my time? And did I, like learning from mistakes, from things I did in the past where I had these, really stressful times, and, what I had done in the past, unfortunately, is share that stress with my family. And now I look back on that time, I can't ever get it back, and so I never want to do that again, right? So yeah
exactly.
I
I love it.
What are your thoughts, Benjamin, on mindset and how to go from a non-success mindset to a successful mindset, or a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset?
Yeah, that is a very topic that I also has been focusing on, not just on my personal level, but also on the message that I want to spread to the world, right? I'm also running a podcast called MIT Podcast, that stands for Mindset into Transformation. The main thing that I name my podcast to be, MIT Mindset into Transformation, is that I believe all motivation eventually will grow into action, and the actions will eventually grow into result, right? And the motivation plus your emotion, the positivity or negativities that you carry along with your actions, deter the result.
Yes.
Right? Just for quick examples, if you go out to a street and are looking for properties, and if you approach to a homeowner with a smiley face, having a positive mindset that, hey, I'm going to be the best friend with this, seller or the property owners. No matter I get to buy this property or not, we're going to be a best friend. If you carry with that mindset, you would approach it in a way that, hey, I just want to know you, and I want to let you know this property is beautiful. I love it, and why I love it, and what I want to do about it. I wanted to make changes or whatnot, right? Blah blah blah, right? That come with a positivity mindset. But if you were coming to, with the negative energy and whatnot, and just thinking about, hey, this property is going to make me millions, I have to take it down no matter what, and I don't care who is living in there. I want them out and sell this property to me because I want to make the million. Then you will be approaching it, in the way that, hey, you're just only about money. And most people care about money, but most people care about the money go to them, not the money go to other people's.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. So that would be a huge misalignment. And that would cause you to have less desirable result.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're less likely to get the property.
Yes, exactly. So I learned that in every single action, every single goal that I try to, accomplish, I position myself in a way that, if I were on the other side, what would be the approach that I would enjoy more? I would be more probable to say yes, right? And that always lead to a positive mindset, and really position yourself with, a kind, friendliness, and abundance mindset, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned your podcast, and I was very grateful that you had me on it. And it is a awesome podcast. I have listened to a few episodes. I do recommend that everybody, subscribe and listen to his podcast. And with you bringing up the name Mindset into Transformation, it is a very interesting name, because the transformation comes from the mindset. So you have to have the mindset, and you have to. One amazing thing that epiphany that I've had recently about mindset is it is a consistent. So we talk about, you know, spirit, mind, and body. We have to be feeding all three of these, and when we're talking about mind, we have to be feeding our mind with, like, you know, education and a lot of different things. But we need to also be feeding our mindset, and so the changes will happen in the mindset before they happen, you know, in reality. And so, if we want to transform, I actually like the phrase transform, humans transform over humans change, because it seems to make more sense to me. So, but if we want to transform our lives, our person, our character, it needs to start inside first, you know, 100% of the time.
Exactly. And like you said, transformation is a word that is different with the word change, or even the word result, right? Transformation is about you becoming the other state of you, right? It's really about the better versions of you that you would enjoy being more, right? And so mindset is truly something that not only drive you into the action, like I previously mentioned, but also put you into a new state of you. And a new state of you where you get to visions, you know, what you would own, what you would enjoy being, what you would be enjoy doing, what you would be enjoying, you know, with the type of people you want to hang out with, or putting yourself into a certain network or whatnot. That specific state is where all the people are looking for, instead of just a specific result, right? If we take a step back and really think about, hey, how much of money would make you happy? Most people are thinking about $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $20 million, $100 million, right? Those are numbers. But how did you come up with that numbers? And really, if you really get that number, would you really be happy? Look at how many people get in lottery, and what are the results turning to them, right?
A lot of times not good.
Yeah. So it's really about whether you are ready for your new state of yourself. If you are, then the result will come. The thing that come with that new state of you will come, right? For example, a lot of people who have done, hundreds of millions of business, or net worth exceed 1 billion, and a lot of guests that I'm interviewing in my podcast, they are in that state of themselves that will naturally attract those desirable results, right? And they are they chasing it? Maybe a little bit, but really what they're after is to really enjoy the new state of themselves, and that just come with the desirable thing that they wanted, whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's some other thing, right? So
Yes.
that's where the transformations come from.
I love it. And, states are in you and I met through Jason Dree's, coaching community. And Jason talks about frames. And I think frames and states are very similar, almost interchangeable. There's, but with states, in frames, there's unlimited, right? So it's very important, kind of like you said, now because I love that you brought up the money thing, right? Because if we don't handle how to be happy now, how to enjoy the process now, how to enjoy life now, we have to handle it at some point, tomorrow, next week. When we hit the $1 million status and we haven't handled how to be happy if we're not happy, how to enjoy life if we don't enjoy life, then we still have to handle it. So what the mind does a lot of times is we go, well, the $1 million mark was not the right mark. Now it's got to be 10 million. And then they shoot and get 10 million, right? And then they still haven't handled happy, or how to be happy, how to enjoy life. it's going to continue to be elusive until they address that. There's something that somebody taught me a long time ago, and it's basically like, God or the universe, will bring you to a river. And if you don't cross it, he'll bring you back to the river. If you don't cross it, he'll bring you back. Keeps bringing you back to this river until you cross it. So I think the river is this. What state do we want to spend most of our time in? Do we want to be angry, frustrated, living in self-doubt, fear, anxiety? Or do we want to be happy, like abundant, giving, generous, loving, caring, like, patient, and, experiencing affluence, which is like just a fun word to say. It's up to us, and nobody can do it for us. Another thing that I learned from Brian, I love this saying from Brian Tracy. I learned it when I was like 16 years old. And just like, at first I was like, I'm trying to understand what he means, because it just seems obvious. But the phrase is, if it's to be, it's up to me. If anything, if we're going to create in our dreams, we have to learn how to do it. And I really truly believe that we, like what you said, we have to learn how to be in this state management, like Tony Robbins would say, so that then we can start to, for lack of a better term, manifest the results that we are looking to create. Because one last thing, I know you've seen this. I know anybody who's listening or watching this in the future has experienced moments and times where things come like easy. And I used to spend a lot of time there and totally got my mind, mixed up and wound up. And now I'm trying to undo it and go back to, hey, enjoying life is most important. So
Yeah,
it's huge.
yeah, exactly. And I used to have trouble really imagine what the new state of myself is, or like Jason's, way of putting it is the frame, right? And then I figured this way that become easier to me, and I hope that create value to your audience as well, is really sit down and imagine you're going to write a novel about yourself, about a new state of you. If you're going to write a novel, and in that novel, what are the things that this character of you, the new state of you, is going to experience? What are the story that you want this character to experience and happen? What are the people, the network that this character, this person, this new state of you would have, or would have connect with, right? And what are the financial status look like? What are the character look like? Personality look like, right? Really sit down and just even write a page or two about this person that would help you discover what is the next state of you, or the most desirable state of you look like. And this change, I mean, this state of yourself can change over time, but in every second excuse me, in every second you can truly write down that most desirable state of you, and then you will be able to discover the abundance, and I mean, that's easier for you to just imagine you being that character. What are the world look like, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my little trick to help myself.
Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely going to do that, and I think it's so important. Actually, I think you're going to get much better results when writing this out. For me personally, I should just say I will get much better results writing this out, but I'd encourage anybody listening to actually take the time to do this, because you're looking at 30 minutes, an hour, maybe 2 hours. It goes as long as you want, but it's not taking that much time. But I do think that when you write it out, is much more likely to come to pass. Plus, you can revisit it more frequently. One of the interesting things that I did is, when I was 19, is I wrote out a bunch of goals, but one of them was that I was going to get married to somebody, like the woman of my dreams, at 35, and I missed it by 1 year, 36, right? But I also, a couple years later, wrote out in detail what this woman was going to be like, and it's literally my wife. And I wrote this at probably age 24, right? So 10, 11, 12 years in advance. That's the power of writing it down and spending some time and actually getting it ingrained in our subconscious and feeling those emotions. But that's such an awesome exercise, Benjamin. Thank you for sharing that. And I definitely
Yeah,
will do it. I'm going to share my results with you too. So,
awesome. Yeah, I actually I have to say I got inspired by my kid, my 2 years old kid. He
okay.
was I mean we have this the poster posting on the wall, and one day he just decided to grab some paint and start painting, start drawing things on it, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do the same. And he was just drawing our family. He was drawing his dad, me, and his mom, and the grandpa, grandmas, and the cars and whatnot. And I figured, why don't I just draw the new state of me? Why don't I just sit down and really draw, draw out what it would looks desire, the new state of me, and that really lead to those actions, and that picture is still sitting in my office today, reminding me every single day.
I love it. Yeah, what a powerful reminder. And, so that's awesome. Okay, now let me ask you this, Benjamin. If there was a key that unlocked or helped to unlock success in your life, again, as you define it, success, what would that key be?
Uh, I would say make a mistake, just like what I've been saying. Really, um, learning from mistake is the most effective way to learn, to me. Um, and some other people's mistake help me grow quickly, but those are not as deep as the mistake that you make, right? So, um, as you are allowing yourself to do what you love, truly love, a lot of mistake come with it, and those mistakes are truly what I see to really unlock my success. And nowadays, I love to share more about the mistake I make instead of the so-called success, because I believe success is about how you grow into a new state of you, right? And this new state of me really is what I would define deep of my mind of success.
And, there's a lot to I think when we're sharing mistakes from other people, one, it shows them because in this day and age, when if you spend any time on social media, they're basically everybody's perfect. They have a perfect life. They don't make mistakes, right? So when we're sharing mistakes with our audience, with our friends, with our business partners, business associates, clients, etc., we're actually showing them, hey, not only do we make mistakes, but as we're sharing how we learn from those mistakes, that's also powerful. But powerful. But I think, with that being said, one of the most important places to share mistakes with is our children. Hey, I'm sorry that this happened, or I made a mistake here, and I want you to see that it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to admit, because honestly, for quite a few years there, in my mindset, it was not okay to make mistakes. So I would pretend like I wasn't making mistakes, but that doesn't make the mistakes go away, right? It just is having resistance to mistakes and creating discord mentally, and it is what I believe happens.
Yeah, and usually you tend to be making the same mistake if you don't face it.
Yes, right. I agree. I love that. Now, Benjamin, please give us one, book recommendation, and one tech recommendation. It could be an app that you use, or any software, or whatever recording device.
Yeah, so I recently found myself to really enjoy reading, audiobooks. I found myself to learn more efficiently by listening to the audiobook instead of reading it. But one book that I recently are reading is Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. That is a book that I have visited multiple times. I I am doing my best, try to practice, what it was teaching me. Truly, if you are seeking the new state of you, that is the book can transform you. To my, in my opinions. In terms of the tech recommendation, to be honest, I'm not super, the savvy on, technology or whatnot. But if there's one recommendation that I can give to everybody who are just getting started, really it's about go out and do what you love, make mistake, and love every bit of it.
Yes, that's awesome. Great. And it's interesting. The two books that you brought up in this interview here are the two books. I only review two books every year, and it's Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad, because they're so important. And I think there's a reason why you obsessed about Rich Dad Poor Dad and read it over and over and over, because we want to understand everything that's in there and then apply it, right? And so now Think and Grow Rich is almost like the amount of information from Rich Dad Poor Dad, but like times 100 nearly, it seems. There's so much. It's dense and jam-packed with just like very valuable information. So I highly recommend that book as well. So Benjamin, we're getting close to wrapping this up. Thank you so much again for joining us. Now, let me ask you this: is how could our audience support you? Is there a particular type of deal you're looking for they can send your way, or how is the best way for them to follow you, connect with you, support you?
Sure. So I'm a podcast host of MIT Capital, Mindset into Transformation. Please come visit and really listen to some of our episodes. I hope that tremendous value that we're able to get from our guests can be shared to everybody here. And in additional, I am also a active real estate syndicate investor and apartment syndicator, right? So we work on Class B, basically B minus to B plus, value add apartment complex. We target 80 plus unit properties. Our market mainly focusing on in Dallas, Texas, and Jacksonville, Florida. So if you have interest in investing in our deal, you can visit us at MIT Multifamily with IES, so multifamilies.com, mitmultifamilies.com. There you will be able to find information, and there's an investor portal. Feel free to sign up our newsletter and learn more about what we do. There's also somewhere that, on the website that you can schedule a call with me. We can get into the topic of whatever you desire. If there's any kind of issue topic that I can be helpful with, I'll be happy to do that. And Doc, thanks again for inviting me to the show. I really enjoy our conversation.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Benjamin. I always enjoy ours as well, and we'll definitely put a link to your website in the description. And I've been meaning to tell you, your website is beautiful. It is great. So great job there. And but yeah, thanks again for joining us, Benjamin. I think with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you all for listening / viewing another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.